Your perspective will determine your strategy. We believe at Fine and Country that there's an upside to every downturn. We all know there's still opportunities even in very tough or indeed in the worst recession.
One thing is sure, amongst the reasons why we are in a recession is because also business confidence is low.
We tend to want to keep doing what we've always done, even when the operating environment has changed significantly.
We all have to rethink our value proposition. What is the value to the customer? Today, it is what the customer regards as value, not what he thinks.
Are you speaking to the high end, the middle level, or the bottom level? You must get that clear in your mind, because that determines what features you put in that will be paid for.
It's actually in downtimes or downturns that you have an opportunity to actually build your core, make your messaging very strong, and in times of low confidence, you can actually build confidence.
Best time to buy anything is at the bottom of the market.
In tough times, the tough get going. It's time to put on our thinking caps. It's time for us to take on new thinking. The Refined Investor series is about inspiring confidence, because we recognize that for our economy to thrive, we have to raise the conversations that actually, one, drive and improve and inspire the confidence of those who are in this economy, and that's you.
Now, a lot has been said about recession, and let me take you back to 1958 when Harry Truman, the president of the US, said, "It's a recession when your neighbor loses his job. It's a depression when you lose yours." That was in 1958. Now in 1980, during the very tense presidential debate between Reagan and Jimmy Carter, Reagan said, "Recession is when your neighbor loses his job. Depression is when you lose yours. And recovery is when Jimmy Carter loses his." So there's been a lot of rhetoric about recession, depression, and all that talk. But if there's one thing that has been done today, it's restore hope and get us to understand that in these dark days, these are the times to consider the creative ways of investing in real estate as a way out of recession and economic challenges. So let us appreciate our first panel one more time. Mr. Tero Peterside, Mr. John Woodruff, our chief host, Udo Konjo, and a representative of our keynote speaker as well. Let's put our hands together for them. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're going to move straight on to the next plenary session. And this time we'll be looking at residential insight, an economic meltdown or an opportunity to reinvent. A number of statistics have been thrown around, but one that caught my eye is the fact that according to PwC, the real estate industry is valued at $13.65 billion. And that's about 7.6% of our GDP. And that just shows that there's a lot of room for growth. So how do we look at these opportunities to reinvent within this very harsh economic environment? So I'm going to be inviting three distinguished gentlemen on stage, and I'll read their bios. First, I'll have Mr. Hakeem Ogunyeron, who's the Managing Director of UPDC. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Hakeem Ogunyeron. He graduated from the University of Lagos with LLB Honors, Second Class Honors in 1984. He was called to the Nigerian Bar in 1985. After passing the bar examinations at the Nigerian Law School, he later obtained the Master of Law and MBA degrees from the University of Lagos. He's a fellow and past president of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators Nigeria, and a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators in the UK. Between 1986 and 1992, he was a lecturer at the Universities of Ilorin and Lagos. In 1991-92, he was a visiting scholar at the Yale Law School. And between 1992 and 1994, he worked with GF Group, Gold Link Insurance as Group Secretary and Legal Advisor. He joined USCN as Head of Legal. I was at various times Area Manager, Marketing Manager, GBO MDS, Acting Managing Director of UACN Property Development Company. He was appointed the Divisional Managing Director of MDS Logistics in April 2000. In 2010, he was appointed the Managing Director of UACN Property Development Company, UPDC. He's a recipient of many awards, including the Federal Government Scholarship for Higher Academic Standing, the Fulbright Scholarship to Yale School, Joint Best Individual Performance in Management Accounting in ICSA Final Exams, Osun State Government of Nigeria's Merit Award, Kwame Nkrumah's Award for Corporate Governance Leadership. By now we should be clapping. We should be clapping for the pointy. Distinguished Chartered Secretary of the Year 2010. Association of Professional Bodies in Nigeria's Award for Professional Excellence 2011. And if I continue, there will be no time for him to give his address because he has a lot of awards. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Hakeem Ogunero. Thank you. I'd also like to invite on stage Andrea Gede, who is the Managing Director at Elenan Construction. Andrea Gede has been the Managing Director of Elenan since inception. And prior to joining the company, he was Operations Manager, Project Manager, and Site of VACC Technical Limited, Soft Solutions Nigeria Limited, Panther Investments Nigeria Limited, Provence Limited, and Alan Carey Limited. He graduated from the Nottingham University in 1979 with a BSc in Production Engineering and also holds an MSc in Construction Management from the University of Loughborough in England. Let's put our hands together for Andrea Gede. And last but not least, to join the panel, Dr. Femi Akintunde. Is that a protest? Let's put our hands together for you. It's too late to protest. Engineer Olufemi Akintunde is the Managing Director and CEO of Alpha Mead Facilities Management and Services Limited. He's from Ibadan in Oyo State, where he had his education. He attended Queens of Apostles Primary School, Loyola College, and graduated with a second-class upper division in Industrial Engineering from Nigeria's premier university, University of Ibadan, in 1988. He began his professional career with Nestle PLC, having served with the corporation as an industrial attaché in 1986-87. He was promoted to full management grade within his first 2 years at Nestle. At Shell, he had 12 years of robust professional experience working in core production and exploration, human resources, and corporate services, where he rose through the ranks to senior management level. One of Femi's signatures at Shell Nigeria remains his design of security access control for the global oil and gas company, which is still being used till date. Let's put our hands together. His company, AM Facilities, is the first facility management company in Nigeria with the ISO 9001-2008 certification and accredited by UKAS and ANAB, the American ANSI ASQ National Accreditation Board. The company currently services prominent Nigerian and international businesses and real estate corporations such as the Nigerian Stock Exchange, MTN, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, to moderate this panel, our chief host, she needs absolutely no introduction, the CEO and Vice Chair, Fine and Country West Africa, Mrs. Udo Okonjo. Let's put our hands together. The topic, I'm sure we have it on our program. What's up with the growing vacancies? What strategies should landlords and owners deploy? Pricing strategies for residential properties in a recession. Will prices go up or down? The effect of devaluation on pricing, affordability and management, service charges, asset preservation. What will the future look like, and more?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, once again, and my distinguished panel, you're welcome to RIS 2016. I would like to start with Hakeem, obviously a major player in the real estate sector across all spectrums of the real estate sector. Hakeem, if you would please just share with us what are your thoughts, your own perspective on the current market. So the real estate market as is, from your point of view.
Thank you very much. Well, very pleased to be here this morning to join this audience. First of all, during the last session, I wanted to make a contribution because this morning, as I was thinking about the economy, thinking about the old scenarios, a simple analogy came to my mind, and let me just tell you what the analogy is. We've been told that when you find yourself in a hole and you want to get out of the hole, the first thing you do is to stop digging the hole. So as a country, we found ourselves in a hole. Maybe we even use hoes and cutlasses to dig the hole. What we've done today is we've now positioned tractors very close to the hole. So everybody thinks that we're only going to do one thing. We're going to dig deeper and deeper. And that's just the reality. Because first of all, we have to bring confidence back to this economy. Otherwise, we're going nowhere. Now, in terms of real estate, my view is that there are two categories of developers. There are those who are casual visitors to the industry, But for us at UPDC, this is the only thing that we do. So we don't have a choice but to look beyond the problems, look beyond the challenges, look at the opportunities, and try to see how we can position ourselves for now. Now, the recession, of course, has had a very debilitating impact on the industry. I've been in real estate now for 6 years actively, and I've seen what has happened. In 6 years, we've managed to deliver like 12, 13 projects. We knew what it was 2-3 years ago, and we know what it is today. But I do agree with the point that recession doesn't mean that there is no business again. This year, our target was to sell 170 properties. As at now, we've sold 111. Same time last year, we sold 135. And we're very, very confident that, God willing, if we don't hit our 170 properties, we're going to get very close, even by the end of the year, by God's grace. Just by way of, but you must understand that the market, your buyer base is shrinking, purchasing power is declining, and prices are falling. Even if you already finish your project, for example, you can't increase your price. You're stuck with devaluation of the naira. So what should you do in those instances? If you look at, I tend to categorize this residential market into three. Luxury, I see as those properties that sell for between 120 million and above. And I agree with Udo that there's still a niche opportunity in that market. The only thing is that your value proposition must be very, very different. The reality of the matter is that for you to play in that market, you have to define your value proposition clearly and speak to the specific needs of the customers. Those times are gone where you assume that you know what the customer wants. Today, you've got to put your customer in the driving seat and help them to lead what you put. I had a short presentation. I also spoke about value engineering. You must value engineer your design and ensure that you speak to the needs of your customers specifically. So that's the luxury category. There's a significant opportunity in what we describe as the premium category. That's the market of between 30-40 million to 100 million. That market, and I've done 2 projects. I have 2 examples I can share. I did a project in 2015, which I've sold off now. We're trying to complete now. And I've done a project in 2016, which we started December last year. Some people thought I was crazy. But by today, I've sold 90, and I'm sure I'll finish selling before the end of this year. But we had to do things differently. We had to sit down with customers. We have to give them the options. We have to give them the flexibility to choose what they want. In those days, you used to assume that you knew everything that the customer, that you knew the color of tile. I remember, I always give this example. There was a luxury project we did in the Cameroon Green. And I went with the suppliers all over Europe looking for the tiles, and I was so excited, and we went from factory to factory, and we chose all the tiles ourselves. There was a particular tile which was blue tile, which was very expensive, and I said, I just love this tile, even though it's hard and it's very just buy it. We put the tile in the bathroom. The first buyer, said, what sort of rubbish is this? Who uses blue tiles in this year and age? Don't you know that people have moved to nude colors for that and things like that? Even though she bought the house, she made us to strip the entire bathroom. Even though it was to us, we had bought something very expensive, and we thought, that would tell you that, unless you really, sit down with your customer and really find out what they want, you may run into trouble. So there's a significant opportunity in the premium market. There's a whole lot of opportunity in what we call the classic and the comfort market. That's the market between 25, 30, and say 40, 50 million. Below 25 is difficult for me to do, and there are people who are playing in that category. Now, that market, provided you create the right retail financing platform for your customers. I have a project currently that we just finished. We're commissioning next week in Festac. We converted the older hotel, one to hotel, the other one to apartments. So the one we converted to apartments, 1 and 2 bedrooms. We're selling 21 to 28 million. I just did a deal for 50 units. And in the course of negotiating that deal, a lot of, I deliberately more or less delayed the negotiation, but I wanted to learn from the process with the other party. I learned so much that if I'm doing the next project in that category, I know what I want to do. So those pockets of opportunities are still there. There are challenges, clearly. There are challenges in the market, but we all have to rethink our value proposition. What is the value to the customer? Today, it is what the customer regards as value, not what you think. So I think that the traditional value drivers, location, quality, pricing, they're still relevant. But there are some softer issues that you need to pay attention to. Flexibility, relating with the customer, retail financing, post-delivery services, all those things which ordinarily you just ignore. 5 years ago, we used to say UPDC that don't worry, they'll buy. Once you just put the UPDC brand, people will buy. Now today, the brand still means a lot to the people, but they want that brand plus the value that they wanted. Finally, let me just give another example. When we did Cameron Green, we did 4 villas. And in our thinking, we said, okay, if somebody's going to buy a house for 450 million, you need to do something special. You need to insulate the roof and make sure that when it rains, don't hear, Eventually, about 12% of the cost of the project went into that. And one customer told me that, hey, I even want to hear the rain splashing on my roof. But we thought that, we're doing so, so it would have been better for us to have given each customer the opportunity to choose exactly what they want, So this recession will teach all of us a lot of things. We have to do things better. We have to do things smarter. We have to relate with the customer. We have to stay on the game and ensure that we drive our project very well. And finally, I also mentioned end-to-end funding. Funding is, because a lot of people misunderstand real estate. They see real estate as brick and mortar business. But the funding is the most critical. I always say that real estate is a financing game. If your assumptions are wrong, you're just going to die midway into the project. In 2012, I bought over a project in Lekki, which we finished at Metro Gardens. The developer did everything right. He had beautiful designs, great flows, good marketing. But his funding model was wrong, and 18 months into the project, it would not go forward nor backwards. So we had to take him out and we took out the bank. So in this recession, I advise do bite sizes. When I have people say they are launching 500 units, I say, why don't you do 50 first? And sell the 50. When you finish the 50, do another 50. So these are the kind of things that we have to relate with in this economy. And I'm sure that if we hang in there, eventually the good times are going to come back. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. The foundation for the rest of our conversation. If you'll please hand over the microphone to Andre, and we're just taking it up, higher. Andre is a developer, principally in Ikoyi. So if there's any such thing as super luxury, that's probably where Andre's project will fall into. So Andre, I would like you to speak to the issue of want definitions, as Hakeem alluded to in terms of when he talked about, classic, premium, luxury. That's obviously UPDC's definition, and there's some parts of it that are probably universal. But in your estimation and from your company's perspective, how would you describe what you do and what makes it luxury or super luxury? And if you would just sort of take us a bit into your world.
Okay, thank you. I agree with Hakeem. All of our products are luxury for UPDC. It's 120 million and above. But we actually focus on the higher end one. We have nothing at 120 million today. We cannot sell at 120 million in the high end. People are asking for much more than what they used to get before for the 120, what they used to call luxury, which is standard tile, standard this. But because it was new then, now people are much more choosy. People who have money, they want value for their money today, and they know what they are looking for. They know they want to be in ECOE or VI. They have a budget, and they want to maximize and squeeze every last benefit from that money. We've been doing what people have just now realized that they must do. We've been value engineering all our projects because our group consists of all the production units that give you residential luxury unit. We do the construction, we do the MEP, we do the facilities management, we own the brands, the high-end brands, we own the joinery and carpentry that goes into the kitchens, doors, the wardrobes. We have the whole lot, so we really customize the products that we do. We also have been, since the beginning, we've been custom building for people. We realized this in our own development. Anybody who bought a flat just broke up everything, no matter what we chose. It's not a matter of, it's just taste. We provide marble, the lady comes in and she says, oh no, I don't like marble, I want porcelain tiles. You do tiles, she says, oh, I want marble. So we've actually, now we just ask people what they want. So it is custom made for what they like. What we do is we provide a basic finish that we say, okay, our price includes this and that, and these are the colors and so on and so forth, but it is menu driven. You can choose a different color, you can choose a different type of finish, you can choose to have a smart home, you can choose not to have smart home, so it is custom made and we build up the prices that way. But this is for the really high end. We've been looking at the lower, like the premium, let us say, the Lekki area and so on and so forth. And we really need to value engineer and reduce our costs to fit that model, the model of the 50 to 100 million flats. But then we have to optimize the sizes, because in the high-end luxury size is really that matters. If you give 400, they say it's small. The lady comes in, she sees a kitchen of 20 square meters, disappointed, she wants 30. Bedroom, master bedroom, they really want it humongous. So that's the high end. When you go to the lower end and the sizes, I mean, we can't provide these kinds of sizes for much lesser money because it costs us the same to build in any case. The concrete and the structure is the same, whether it is in ECOE, Lekki, or in Epe. It's the same price for us. I mean, concrete, blocks, all of that is the same. It's only the finishing that will make a difference, and between the lowest finish and the highest finish. So finishing is like 50% of the cost of the project. Between the high end, maybe you save 30-40% of the overall cost. So, I mean, but we really have to look at all these details to come up with a right product.
Okay, so I'm hearing, thank you, please give a round of applause. Thank you very much, Andre, for that insight. So, super luxury, but it does seem like from super luxury, we're now considering getting into sort of the mid segment, what Hakeem had referred to as premium, and maybe not classic. Hakeem, did you say classic for you would be below 50 million, 30 to about 60 million? So you're looking at premium, which would be anywhere from potentially 50 million and above to about 120 million. Okay, so the question I'd like to ask you, Andre, just in case there's a developer in here who is still looking at the super luxury, is there still an opportunity? I mean, we have our views on that. Clearly, you're developing a really amazing residential project on Bodilon called Core Bodilon. Tell us a little bit about that. Have you seen any? I know you guys have a very deep book, but would you do that project today? Going into 2017, if you haven't started, are there any factors or dynamics that would lead you to start that project in today's market?
There are always opportunities. It's very hard today if we have to go into another project like that, I mean, we will think twice. Number 4 is a unique project. I don't think we will go into any other project like it again, and I wouldn't advise anybody to do it now. It's really, but we're doing it to make a statement more than for the commercial value of it. Unlike my colleagues here, who have their brands and everything, for us a statement is very important. To set a standard is very important. I mean, we don't look at a project now, we look at the future. So yes, but the high end, I mean, there is really no limit to it. I mean, a lot of Nigerians have a lot of money. People, and the trends are changing. People don't like to move in houses anymore. They prefer to live in building service apartments because they travel often. They just want to lock their place up and go. And they need to be big, as if it's building houses, but in heights. It's not, so we have duplexes in number 4 that go 950 square meters. This is bigger than any house, or many houses in Lekki, because it's massive. But people look for that. They want to have that house in a building that's service secure and with all the facilities.
Right, and just to contribute to that, thank you, Andre. We know that in the super luxury segment, that it's, you know, if you look at the pyramid, it's the top 1% really. And at that level, capital is generally allocation. There are also other considerations, as some of the ones you've alluded to, in terms of the vision of the developer. Sometimes it's not just the commercial value, as you said, because we do have some people in the audience here who may be considering projects. And you know, as we had a conversation at my real estate program in the Oxford Real Estate course a few years ago, and we had this conversation because from an academic point of view, real estate is about the economy. It's about the value proposition, it's about the commercials and all of that. But we began to draw our team's attention to the fact that, you know, whether you look at Dubai or Qatar or some of these other types of investors who are coming into the UK and overpaying for certain buildings beyond the commercial value for some of the reasons that you referred to. And then we had this debate about return on ego versus return on investment. And we do have to admit that at a certain level, there is something to be said for building, you know, or creating a project that speaks to something. The Burj Khalifa, for example, I'm sure they looked at economics, but it's a statement, it's iconic, and it pulls to Dubai. So since, you know, for us in Nigeria, we still have to build a future, it's good that we do have developers like Elalan who are willing to go beyond the economics to actually thinking about, you know, making a statement and all of that. And indeed, even in the commercial segment, we've also seen some of those types of projects. And in the long run, real estate delivers value anyway. Thank you once again, Andre, for that. We will come back to some of the issues that have been raised, but just talking about the fact that you're looking to value engineer, value pricing, those are real life issues, especially in a recession economy. And so on that note, I will be coming to Femi, because as we've seen, it's one thing to acquire property. It's quite another thing to maintain it. And we know that it's very important to preserve your asset value. And one of the ways you do that is what Alpha Mead does. So Femi, I'd like you to speak to the trends that you're seeing, because from our point of view, we're seeing people beginning to ask that question over and over. What's the service charge? Because we don't want to continue to be tenants after we've bought. So Femi, speak to that, what your company does, around that, and how you will speak to this current economy and going forward.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to draw some differences between what are those things that define value in our environment here and in the developed countries. You will agree with me there are certain things that you take for granted if you have a property in London, in the US, or any of those other countries. Issue about water supply from the public source, electricity, you take them for granted. You just focus on delivering your project. And because of that, you are able to focus your attention on important details. The situation is different here. Right from the development perspective, your energy is dissipated on things that ought to have been generally available in the environment. So that's the first challenge. This challenge that you have, when you now look at value of real estate as a wealth creator, what are those things that define the value? The quality of the building matters a lot. The quality of the infrastructure and the features that you provide determines the class. You won't build a major facility in a location where people cannot afford it and you expect to sell. When you build something that is substandard in a location that the land is prime, you're not likely to sell. And we've seen many examples like that. We are in this industry. We've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. There are some projects that naturally we would not even be motivated to accept. Not because we don't want the business, but it gives us more headache and bad reputation. So, when you're talking of value creation and value retention, from facility management perspective, I like to divide it into 3 key segments. It's about tenants attraction, tenants retention, and tenants separation. These 3 points are very critical. If everybody is saying it's so expensive to rent, but we still have properties that rent far beyond what an average person can afford, and they go off the market faster, you need to ask yourself, what is the difference? What are they doing right? Number 1 thing is the market you are speaking to. Are you speaking to the high end, the middle level, or the bottom level? You must get that clear in your mind, because that determines what features you put in that will be paid for. I remember, let me use an example. When I was in Shell, my last job was as the head of corporate services for the Lagos. And we were to rent a block of apartments somewhere in Ikoyi. One of the major developers, they've given us about 3 or 4 big projects before, 20 units, 16 units and stuff. And when we got to the point of negotiation, the agent and the developer were telling me that, oh, the reason we want to charge you $95,000 is because we use old stone to make the floor. That was the first time I heard about old stone. And I asked, I'm going to put expatriates who are here to work for 4 years and leave the place. Why should I pay for old stone? Give me something functional and I will pay you something that will be even more profitable to you. Why have you spent your money providing all this and offering it to the corporate client? Do you think I want to provide luxury of that end for people? I need to make them comfortable. So, yes, he has a target, but he was offering it to a wrong class of customers. So, tenant attraction has to do with what you provided. It has to do with the brand of the provider and the credibility. Because some names are mentioned, when they say they offer you project, you are worried. What is going to be inside? So attraction is very, very important to attract the right customers, the right people who want to stay in that place and will not spoil your property. Somebody who has not tasted luxury, you bring it in and fix him into that apartment, 2 years down the line, you are in trouble. Tenant retention. There are a whole lot of things we get wrong about tenant retention as developers and as landlords. The quality of the service you provide actually is one of the critical factors that endears tenants to the apartment and attract new ones. But then we now run into the problem of balancing value against cost. One of the things I've heard recently is, oh, the market is soft, rent is coming down, so service charge should go down. Rent is a function of an asset that has long-term value. Service charge is a function of current reality. It's a function of the space. And the space is not changing because the market is changing. The amount of resources you need to provide electricity, to manage cleaning, security, refuse collection, everything is a function of the current realities of the market. And there's upward pressure on inflation, putting on the price. So tell me, if I have an asset that I own for 50, 100 years, it's mine. Why will it be difficult for me to defer my benefit to accommodate the current realities? But can you comfortably do that for service charge? So this is where we run into some challenges with some owners of estates, trying to balance how far and how low can you get to make the apartment serviceable, make people want to stay there and have unique experience, and the price they pay below which they begin to lose the comfort, and then everything comes back on the brand of your development. So the current situation is such that this is a tough one that we're trying to balance, but it's a question of how well the organization is prepared to manage things and what changes we're making. And I'll give you one or two things we're doing to deal with that problems at the moment. Number one, when you look at the maintenance strategy for high-end properties, you can start from your preventive maintenance to say you want to do anything before it breaks down. We must change this every 1 hour, we change this every 1 week. Yes, that is preventive. You prevent the problem from occurring. And that gives comfort to everybody because they don't notice it, they just see a good serviceable apartment. But we're beginning to realize that we need to bring some intelligence to that. So our new focus is to invest in technology that promotes predictive maintenance, whereby, yes, I must service the generator every 250 hours. If I do that, I spend a lot of money. But can I have a predictive maintenance system that enables me to gauge how dirty the filter is at any point in time, which we check with the quality of the viscosity of the oil? How does the sound indicate to me that it's due for the next service? So with that, you can actually reduce 6 services a year to just about 4. You save money for the owner, you save money for yourself. And these are areas because the pressure on cost is on us. And we're looking for all these opportunities.
Femi, thank you so much. That was very enlightening. I want to take you, just a little bit further on that, because obviously you had mentioned about different segments of the market. We talked about the premium, the classic, we talked about luxury, super luxury. Clearly, at a certain level, people just want comfort. They want convenience and they're willing to pay whatever. So let's move away from that segment. And let's move, bearing in mind that the theme of today's series is out of the box. So if I'm investing in a property that is, say, 80 million naira, 60 million naira, you do have some, I know you've moved away from some of those types of projects, but clearly haven't been in this sector for a very long time. Are there some creative ways that facilities managers can deliver some measure of value that is tied to that particular segment while still helping the owners or the residents save on cost. Is that feasible, or is it just a pipe dream?
Yeah, it's feasible, but I think it's the lowest level we currently are able to play. The truth of the matter is that...
I'm sorry, it goes actually beyond that price point. Even in Ikoyi, we're seeing developments where people are saying, don't give us power for a few hours. So those are some real life issues. Of course, the minute you start talking about that, it goes back to the vision of the development and indeed whether those are you've gotten the right people into a particular development. But these are real practical issues that some of our clients have asked, and that's why I'm bringing it up. I'd like you to address that.
Very, very relevant. The truth of the matter is that people have to define the value of comfort to their lives. There are some people who can afford to have power for only 4 hours, and they say, look, that's what I can afford, and that's where I want to pitch the service. The truth is, some of those kind of projects may not need professional facilities managers to deal with them. Okay? And there are some of those projects that companies like us would not even like to associate our brand with. Because at the end of the day, what people see is what they value, is what they put premium on. And if somebody tells you, do this, when we are pitching for a job, some clients will tell us everything we should do about facilities management to bring the cost down. And then I ask myself, why can't you do it if you know this much about this thing? Oh, you don't need to pay cleaner 20,000. Just pay them 10,000 naira, they will do the cleaning. You don't need to carry the refuse every week. Oh, just do it once every 2 weeks. So if you know all this, but at the end of the day, it comes back to value. So I would say that for the level you've spoken about, how we've helped them to manage that kind of situation is to redefine the scope of the service. Sometimes people ask for an arm and a leg, but they're only willing to pay the cost of a meal. So we sit down with them and say, this is your estate, beautiful estate, 60 units, this is the category of people staying in this estate. You probably don't need internal and external services. We probably just provide you with environmental services, clean environment, good landscaping. Let everybody take care of the internal of the apartment. The security will provide. So the street lights will provide. So you leave certain things, and that is where the issue of power begins to come in. Electricity constitutes about 50 to 60% of total service charge. That's the truth. The next high cost item is security, and that is becoming more serious nowadays. But we are blending the security component in terms of physical guard with some intelligent electronic security management system. That will help you to reduce the number of guards you physically need on site, and it's bringing costs down. Options of power, solar, and stuff like that, people are considering as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Femi. Can we give him a round of applause, please? One of the things about the Refined Investor series is that we're looking for intelligent solutions. We believe in intelligent marketing, intelligent strategies. And so, and we do want to address the full spectrum of the market. So not just the prime, segment where most of us, probably operate. So my question to you would be, some of those projects that you do in the premium range, the facilities that you have, so the swimming pool, launch, I've seen projects where they put, sports and all this fun. Do they really need them? Speak to and all of that, But from you, whether in how many projects that you developed in Nigeria and across, do you see that people are, or are they really just?
Thank you very much. I think we come from perspective on this that we develop. So post-construction mind of a value proposition. If you go around, for example, I think today we have about develop and we manage. If you drive through local, it will appear to you like old development. It's now 23 years old. To make a conscious effort, we preserve the value of our clients. If you look at 5 body long years, body long, opposite, now it's down, 13, 14 years, sure that we preserve it. And that's also was that we know to multiple people. Is that you have to create to help expand in the future what we call asset replacement. Between 3 of the cost of the and when I write to you, I'll tell you this is this is replacement deposit. Players pay because it's part. We hold that money in trust. Is that typical example? Trencher. When we did Trencher, the following year packed up in quick succession. Blue were trying to happen something blue, you know, holding the supplier. It was decided that generators. Now, what people years later, now they've retired. They're now retiring, you know. But if you have deposit, it enables the consent of the co. That's really helped us. For us, certify our luxury development of facilities. It's what they call. I remember on Green. We had even moved to some say, where's the lot? We had to quickly. When I do it, you know, it's impaired everything that it costs. And I see any of my estate facilities and they're just lying in the boy. I reduce this, put lots of tennis court. I put the basic children playground and all. When I do classic, I don't put nothing because clean environment, community, and things. Can afford, you know. So those who are building 10 units, people that put along. I said of managing all the owners. 5 to be surprised if you find that is tadpole that is using this will afford to maintain quality. You know, now things are Femi made. The truth of the matter is that it's forced realities on people. In some of my estates, I don't want to start mentioning names of estates that we run in Lekki General. They've sat down and they've said between and 3 back from school. We don't need to, or if we want to run generators, let's do smaller capacity. Period. You know, out. You know, and because like Femi said, different. Cost of 50 to 70%, you know, and that has helped of this category and is in Abuja. My Brow Estate, per premium, in which came together, including the 50% of the guys in the estate together and said between 3-4 p.m. You know, okay, you may need power, respect, instead of 350 kVA, let's run during this period in the afternoon. You know, so those are all coming begin to do those things so that we have customers. Yeah.
Think at which we participate. Is any comments that you'd like to? I see a lady over there, please. Okay, Barrister Grace and then Agatha.
My name is Gwen, barrister and a chief. My question is for Anne. You talked. I have heard about smart ignorance. What's it? Everybody who spoke talked and didn't like the tiles. She came in and not like something.
Chief Grace, thank you for that question. Questions and then we will. Okay.
So ladies.
And there's a gentleman right there. If you please stand so that he'll.
Good morning, all. I'm just going to make a contribution. My name is Agatha Interior. It was talking about power. I would like to see development of using it's something that we do. Today is talking about. Okay, we decided to run XYZ to, but have they thought include their construction that I want to throw on. Second, I selling furniture as the taste. I went into premium, changed again, and I went. But box today, what we are doing, we're back into manufacture, being able to make locally. So I totally agree that we really think out of the box, see how we everything within.
Thank you, Agatha. The question to Femi, you. So we'll go, and there's another gentleman here.
Good morning, Liz.
Yes, I have a question of the.
Perhaps you need to use the mic. Yes,
okay.
Can you give him a microphone, just so everyone benefits?
Thank you. I think the key emerged from is that as a you must be, Andrea and understood to build the bank. So we are now on the fact that luxury, he has demonstrated within that might still thrive. I think the most important thing that the synergy that should, which is fine representing the developer attempt to act out has been people doing specials and you are not sure that those buildings will evolve, they will be let or that's the era of recession out of the box. Integrate this that should exist. Final country does. companies. Successful developer is my mind in person. One question. But to first, I would say that office managers today. It is at the, that level of quantum where people can afford it, like large corporations, large estates, and so on and so forth. But even at that, you would find that someone would do an office building, but they haven't thought of a cradle that would help to clean that facade when it is finished. Or if they don't want to use a cradle, maybe they would use some type of windows that you can open, you flip aside, you clean from the inside, both sides of the window. So that's innovative. I just want to emphasize this. And to Hakeem, please, I know you have participated in in a stream of projects, from the high end to the not the very low end. You are avoiding affordable housing, which is below your 30 billion or something. But having participated over a long period of time, you have been successful in all the three streams, given that we are in recession right now, and you have different dynamics in the market. How are you keeping yourself? You said you wanted to sell 170, and you are actually over 100 already. Many of us, smaller developers, not at your league, you'll find that there's a serious challenge. And a lot of people would want to know how you have that interplay of balancing the act and surviving within the industry. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Ade Senuse, and I work for a commercial real estate development based in Atlanta. My question would be to Mr. Hakeem, but permit me to just make a brief analogy, if I may, to drive home my questions. Okay. And so I want to use telecoms. So when I relocated to the US 15 years ago, it was when GSM was coming on. So what I noticed was Nigeria basically bypassed the land telephone infrastructure. We just went to GSM. And I'll tell you right now, the Nigerian market is more, they are more intensive users of GSM than even most advanced countries in the world. And what that does is it became a steroid that basically unleashed the telecom industry. So my question to you is, knowing that 70% of the potential in the real estate industries are currently on the sidelines, and with that I'm talking about workforce housing, or what we may call affordable housing. What is your company doing about that from two perspectives? How are you influencing the public sector, which is the government? Because that's the third leg of the stool, the tripod. They basically can provide us steroids to get that part of the sector going. What are you guys doing in terms of financing, in terms of all the resources you need for a full-blown out real estate renaissance? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Chinwe Ajene Sanya, head of West Africa for Jones Lang LaSalle, JLL. I have a general comment and a quick question. In general, I would like to understand, I would like to see a situation where we come up with clear standards in terms of how we come up with our definition for residential. I was taking active notes because I'm a writer with Business Day every Tuesday, and I was trying to understand your definition of super luxury, luxury, classic, premium. And each and every one had a different, slightly different and overlapping definition. So I'm curious to understand what the standard will be, or make a recommendation that we need to get to that point. And that leads me to my question concerning a number of the creative solutions you've come as out-of-the-box solutions to handling FM and project management challenges that you're dealing with. Now, I understand us being creative out of the box during a recession. Are many of those ideas here to stay? Have you come up with ways to establish it as a standard in the industry so that we know that going forward we have a new playing ground? Thank you.
So the final question.
Akintola Oladege is my name. I work for Prestigious Homes Limited. Mine is not really a question, but I had a choice to keep quiet, but I said it would be good for us to share what we think is a good story, a success story that is in tandem with most of the principles that that have been highlighted by the speakers. I would say that in recession, this recession has been our busiest year. Okay, and just listening to everyone, it was as though we sat with them, consulting with them at the beginning of the year. Okay, what has worked for us is really what they've talked about. Okay, we saw that one, the industry, there's integrity issue, so developers will come, will promise 18 months, 24 months. In 24 months, they haven't done 50%. So we said, no, we're not going to work. We're going to be ahead of schedule. Okay, between March and now, I would say we brought out, for all the projects, we have minimum 90% subscription. In fact, we have some projects that are oversubscribed. Okay, apart from the one we just, apart from our new project this month, which is about 20% sold out, okay, just within a few days. What people are really looking out for is value. Okay, you can't overemphasize. Okay, we said to ourselves, if Mr. Oguniro will buy from me, and you know that what you're buying from, if you're going to bid yourself, you're probably going to spend more. So that I'm making money from my structure. I'm making money from efficiencies, for the fact that I'm looking at my cost of construction. If you're going to do it yourself, you're going to spend more. So except you don't want to buy a house, you'll be forced to buy from me. So that's what we did, and we'll see that it resonates because we didn't take the subscriber for granted. These guys are smart, they're looking for value, and they are able to recognize value when they see it. So that has been our story, and it works.
Thank you. We've gotten all the questions, really great comments, contributions, and questions. I'm just going to allow my panel, distinguished panelists, to answer the questions. Andre, do you want to start? Do you have your question?
Okay. I think mine was, one was smart homes. And this is new technologies that you have where you have your whole flat or house controlled with an iPad or a phone or something like that. So you put the lights on, you dim them in different rooms, you draw your blinds, you start your ACs, you stop your ACs. I mean, it's really high tech. It's very complicated, and I don't advise it, but it's a gimmick that people may like. They all come and say, okay, are you providing a smart home? I say, well, if you like it.
There are always risks in life.
No, but I am sure it's protected and this, but it's very complicated. I mean, you just have to, and people don't like it. I can guarantee you, most people like an on-off switch. Just to know that when it becomes too complicated to run his AC, he has to go into one menu and then the other one and then the other one and so on and so forth. And the other one was about women, that I'm always referring that look, I have a perfect partnership with my wife. I make the money and she spends it. So when couples come to buy, it is never ever the man. I mean, he's always worried about how much and the budget and so on and so forth, but it's always the lady who comments about sizes, about view, about ventilation, about light, and yes, they are the decision makers. I had a client come yesterday. He wants us to develop a property for him. He came in and introduced his wife as his boss. That's since the beginning, yeah, so.
Just to contribute to that, Andrew, actually, it's interesting because we did an analysis recently, and we found out that actually finding countries clients, about 40% of our clients are actually women. So, apart from, the men and women who buy together, we actually have women who are also investing in real estate themselves in some of these projects. So, Barrister Grace, it's not, too far-fetched that you have those examples of women.
I also agree with that point because what we also discovered is that a lot of the times, especially when you play in the high-end category, you have to ensure that you get the wife on your side. I remember a particular instance, so let me just share this story. We're going to sell the last villa at Cameron Green, and we've had people inspected, and we're just not selling. And there was this guy who came in from Abuja. He loved the place, but says, hey, my wife is on vacation. She'll be back 6-7 weeks. And we said, hey, can we do a presentation to her over Skype? And he agreed, So we hooked up with the wife, wherever she was, and we took her through, and by 3-4 days later, our money came in, So we must recognize the power of women in making that decision, especially when they are couples. Two questions for me. Housing renaissance. We have to be careful not to get into the affordable housing discussion, because that's a whole different conversation entirely. It's also an area where I've done a lot of work. I can assure you I'm at the forefront of the reform in that area. I think that we've made some progress as a country. If you look at the national housing policy, there are 3 elements. We've taken, I think, what is the easiest part, which has resulted in NMRC now. NMRC is very critical. They now provide funding up to 50 million at a reasonable interest rates. The challenge now, but for me, the challenge is that NMRC is supposed to refinance mortgages. So that means you have to create the mortgages. To create mortgages, you have to originate the assets. So that's the challenge along the value chain. But there's a whole lot of work, But the truth of the matter, 2 problems with affordable housing in this country. Number 1 is that people want affordable housing, but everybody wants toilet and bathroom, self-contained, and they can never be affordable housing. You ask yourself the question, when you visit your friends in the UK and you stay in their house, 4-bedroom house, how many toilets do they have in the house? It's 1 toilet in the whole house. In the US, if you go, maybe you get 1.5 toilets, because the cost of MEP is very, very significant. But in this country, everybody wants all rooms en suite, this one, da, 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 da. It can never be affordable housing. I always give the example of South Africa. When they started their affordable housing project, they started with 40 square meter houses. After 3 years, they moved to 60 square meters. They moved to 80 square meters. It was in 2012 that they moved to 120 square meters. But here, you want 3-bedroom flats, master bedroom, Government is not giving land, government is not giving infrastructure. It is very, very, very difficult. But that's a whole different conversation entirely. Now, going back to the question as to what we're doing in this recession, the reality of the matter is that we have to recognize that the music has changed. As a matter of fact, if you didn't anticipate that the music would change, you are in trouble. We had anticipated that the music was changing, and we had started to learn new dance steps before the music finally changed. That is the only way to survive in this market. And I agree with Akintola. I know Akintola's business very well. It's becoming my very strong competition. So, but the reality of the matter is that I have done two very, and they're not small projects. One is 82 units, one is 38 units. 82 units I did last year. I'm fully sold. The 38 units, we started February this year. 38 units, I've sold 32. I have 6 to sell before the close of the year. But we didn't do anything the way we used to do them. We did them differently. We met people one-on-one. We went through our database. We just did things differently. And somehow the sales kept coming, and they kept coming, and they kept coming. So once we all realize that it is a new normal, it is business unusual, you can't take the customers for granted. You have to ensure that you take steps to speak specifically to the needs of those customers. I think the market has shrunk, but we're going to be all partakers of that market once we meet those needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
If you answer your question and just round up with your projections for 2017,
okay,
and then we'll wrap this segment up.
Okay. A couple of questions, almost every question asked directly or indirectly touched on the issue of facilities management again. Let me quickly say one thing, that the reason you need a facility manager is not because the building cannot be maintained by anybody. It is a question of size and complexity. If you have a small building, 3 units, 4 units, for goodness sake, you should be able to handle that by just employing somebody to look after it for you. But when you begin to scale up to high-rise, 24 units, 30 units, you need somebody to look after that, because there are management systems that are required, which you may not be able to invest in because it's not your core business. Number two, when you begin to have multiple occupancy, interests of everybody is not common. We only say there are common interests. The way you want a balcony to be maintained, a staircase, is not the way I may want it. But you need somebody who provides that convergence of interest. That is where facility management comes in. Okay? So, as facility managers, we work for both the tenants and the landlords. And sometimes their interests do conflict. The tenant who is in somebody's apartment is just interested in living there and moving out. He doesn't care what the effect of the wear and tear is on that property 4, 5, 10 years after he has left the property. That is one area where facility management comes in, to ensure that both the interest of the occupants of today and the long-term interest of the owner is sustained by providing efficient maintenance services. Mr. Oguniro spoke about issue of asset replacement fund. Let me share with you what you may also consider out of the box. One of the things we do nowadays that we advise our clients is that whenever you are preparing your service charge budget, you must have what we call an ARR provision. That's asset replacement reserve provision. It's a sinking fund. And we advise you make it something not too big so that there won't be too much noise around it. Something as basic as 50, 100,000 naira per year. Put it into the service charge and lock it out. It's not available for recurrent expenditure. It's something you need when each of those major facilities begin to give way. For instance, within Ireland here, we know that borrow will give way 8, 9, 10 years maximum. You must start thinking of what you do after that. Your generator won't last 5 years, depending on the level of use. So you need to replace those things. So the asset replacement reserve takes care of that. Somebody spoke about power. There's a lot of study going on in the area of power as we speak. And we've considered different options to help our clients bring down that cost. We are playing with 4 major sources of power provision that we are trying to see how to balance them. You start with public supply. For public supply, you are paying like 27 naira 50 kobo per kilowatt hour in this axis for residential. Then you look at power from gas. The power from gas would cost you in the range of 50, 60 naira per kilowatt. Diesel is in the range of 100 and 130 naira per kilowatt hour. The same thing you pay 27 naira for on PHCN. And then we're now talking of inverter, which helps you to manage the storage, okay? I've not spoken about solar. Solar is only expensive at the initial point when you are trying to install it. Once you install the equipment, okay, the cost of solar is virtually minimal. But the capital cost can be very, very discouraging. So what you want to do is when you are building, make that provision. There's a way your roof should be tilted to be able to receive solar. If you didn't build that way, you won't be able to take advantage. And it costs you more modifying your design, modifying the construction, and everything. This is the time for developers also to bear that in mind when they are constructing and developing their new projects. Lastly, the issue of how does, which is a GS question, how does FM help people from the time they are conceiving and designing? We contribute from 2 perspectives, sizing and specifications. When people size an estate for 50 people, you put a 1,000 kVA generator there, you put a large swimming pool, you put this, you put that. And at the end of the day, you have only 10 occupants. How do you start the service provision? What are the things that you need to compromise initially? So these are structures you must build in to anticipate that, look, I may not have 150 people moving into this estate at once. So rather than having 1 large swimming pool, perhaps I should have 2 small ones. And then you can also clusterize your power. Rather than providing 1 central power for 150 units, bear in mind that everybody may not move in. You may clusterize and say, let me divide the power provision in 100 kVA sizable units.
So when people are moving in, you have the opportunity to gradually scale up your supply of services, and that helps you to balance and manage your cost as you ramp up. On the issue of benchmarking, somebody spoke about data.
Femi, can we, because we're going right into the next segment, and we're actually going to be discussing specifications and standards.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that we also want to wrap up with. So that's a major outcome that we want to get out of this. So my final comment or question is really, since we have these experts on the panel, 2017 is round the corner. What's your prediction? Anything we need to hear from you?
Well, I think 2017 is going to be 2016 plus. You know, because, because I haven't really seen anything. You know, I deliberately went to Economic Summit Group because I wanted to take something out of it, but I really didn't. You know, so I think it's going to be 2016 plus. I must mention that, since Mr. Davis is here, that I don't agree with some of the figures I see being brandished around. I don't agree, for example, that occupancy in Ikoyi and Bia is 74%. If you have 74%, the whole economy will have crashed, you know. I also don't agree that, I've seen some presentations. I don't also agree that you can just go to 4 or 5 streets in Ikoyi and VI and begin to start making deductions from that, you know. My sense, I think occupancy void in this place around 50%, or even low. In most of my estates, I don't have void higher than 10%. I think it's only one that I have about 10%, others, you know, which also speaks to the issue of facility management, tenants' confidence and things like that. I mean, I have an estate where I have people on the queue now, you know, waiting, saying, has somebody moved in this same Ikoyi? You know, so those factors are very, very critical. But I think 2017 is going to be a very, very tough year. I believe that, you know, we should be prepared to continue to look beyond the challenges and see the opportunities. Clearly, in my view, those opportunities are still there. You have to make the right call, take the right decisions, do your project in bite sizes so you can scale up, and hang in there, because you have to be alive at the end of recession to benefit from the prosperity that will come later, you know, otherwise.
Fantastic. Unless anyone else has something else to add. Andre, would you like to add something to that? I will take Femi's comments as his final comment on this matter. Do remember that we have another segment at the end where we're going to actually, you know, break out and actually have further conversations, or if you have questions that you'd like to ask any of the experts in the house today. So on that note, it's my honor and privilege to say a very big thank you to our distinguished panelists, Andre Jade from Ilalan, Hakim Oguniran of UPDC, and Femi Akintunde of Alpha Mead Facilities. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Fine and Country, a multi-award winning international real estate network reputed locally and worldwide for its unique blend of intelligent, creative marketing and branding services, a solid market research and property investment advisory.
At Fine and Country West Africa, we offer a professional approach to corporate sales and leasing of premium commercial and luxurious residential properties.
For 8 years, Fine and Country International Realty West Africa has to its credit several prestigious awards, including its recent award for Property Consultancy of the Year at the 2016 International Property Awards, Africa and Arabia.
We specialize in real estate research, analysis and advisory services, real estate marketing, presentation and branding service, specialized real estate advertising and public relations service, corporate sales and lease administration.
Over the years, Fine and Country has successfully executed several projects in Lagos State, the commercial hub of West Africa, such as the Civic Towers and Eden Heights luxury apartments in Victoria Island. Osborne Towers, and Center Heights Apartments in Ikoyi.
Currently, we proudly represent the award-winning Nest Oil Towers, the lead certified winner of the coveted award for Best Commercial High-Rise Development at the 2016 International Property Awards, Africa and Arabia.
Strategically located at the intersection of two major business districts in Victoria Island, Lagos, with a panoramic view of the Eco-Atlantic City and the Atlantic Ocean, the Nest Oil Tower is targeted at dynamic businesses, multinational industries, and financial institutions that require top branding positioning and desire to be at the very heart of their target market.
The Nest Oil Tower could easily be located in New York, in Tokyo, Beijing, Paris, Morocco, really any part of the world, and it will stand out.
The Oakwood Residences, located on Cooper Road in Ikoyi, Lagos, provides contemporary 4-bedroom apartments and 5-bedroom penthouses with excellent build quality and finish. These homes come with a fitness center, swimming pool, service apartment, study, spa, and uninterrupted power supply. One Cooper Mirama Residences. Fine and Country presents a premium residential development on One Cooper Road, Ikoyi, Lagos. These homes on 10 floors comprise of 3-bedroom apartments and 3-bedroom penthouses, perfect for tranquil and safe family living. They come with all ensuite bedrooms and great views of the Ikoyi metropolis.
One Cooper Mirama homes are well located and in close proximity to leading schools, hospitals, religious centers, hotels, and recreational facilities with good road networks and easy access.
More information about these and other premium commercial, residential, and retail developments in Nigeria can be found on the pages of our quarterly published magazine, The Refined. At Fine and Country, luxury speaks a new language.